What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Now, some of you guys that watch this, I know you're used to seeing like an intro at this point in the journey, but I just want to get to the show today because I have a lot of other stuff going on and I want to get this information out to you as soon as possible. So the main topic, the overall reaching topic of what I'm doing today is talking about untangling uncertainties in your dating life. And that's because this past week, I got a lot of questions and comments that all revolve around the same theme, which is there's uncertainty happening as it pertains to women. And the guys that have been writing me have been like, I'm in situations where either I can't understand what she's doing, or she went from being this way to this way, or this situation is happening and I'm unsure of what to do, or I got anxious and said this and now she's backing off. What's going on? And all this ties into this idea that if you are having uncertainties about the woman you're dating, or if you're uncertain about yourself and your ability for women to actually want to date you and like you, then it can cause a lot of, I'll say, turmoil at worst, and a lot of things that'll happen in your dating life that shouldn't be happening and wouldn't be happening were you a little bit more confident about what you were doing. And so I have a bunch of guys that wrote me this past week. I'm going to go over their questions and comments and give my response to those. And of course, as always, this show is ultimately about you guys. So let me just leave this in the chat and see, got a question, leave it in the chat and I will answer at some point. There we go. So yeah, you guys can ask me any kind of question that pertains to dating, relationships, whatever, and I'll be happy to answer. This is really going to be more of a Q&A today, more so than anything else. But again, I'll be going over questions that I got this past week as well. If you're on the chat or on the watching this live, then you obviously have first dibs of asking me questions and me answering with a response, all right? But overall also, if you need a deeper dive into your situation or figuring out the ins and outs of how to change your dating life, you can always go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. That is the website. Go there to learn, to get your ebooks, audiobooks, programs. I have a free webinar right now that's over there called 3 Nice Guy Dating Patterns That Turn Women Off and What to Do Instead. That'll give you a leg up on knowing what to do and what not to do and the patterns to avoid doing to attract women a lot better. You can also go there now for a limited time to get a free copy of my best-selling ebook called Texting Like a Boss. This is normally a $27 book at my website. You can get it right now for the month of February only, the complete 100-page book for free by going to the website, filling in your name and email address. It'll be sent to you right away to start reading. A lot of you guys have issues with texting, so that is why that book is now currently available, all right? So go there. The deal ends on February 29th, at which point there'll be another offer up, but it won't be for the ebook. So get it while you can. That's what I'm saying. All right, so with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions and comments that I got this past week. And again, if you have a question or comment, leave it down in the chat. I'll be happy to get to it. So let us get to this first person that wrote me. And so I've been answering this guy's question on the show as of late. And then you hit me up later saying, hey, that was great. Because I'll take the long form of the show, right? And then I'll divide it up into smaller videos. And so I've answered this person's question several times now where he's like, hey, thanks for answering, but like take down the other video. So I've just been not making these into short videos, I guess. So all that said, I'm going to try to read through this message without being too detailed about a situation because I want to be able to keep it up. So guy writing me, I'm answering your question. The caveat is since I'm not charging you for answering on the show, I can keep the video up. So if you don't want me to do that, then don't write me questions. All right. So anyway, this guy wrote me and he's been going through a situation with this girl for the past couple of weeks. But the short version is they met and then she had to go out of town and he wasn't sure if he should hit her up or not. And so she, I think, came back this past Saturday and they're going to be going out this week. So what basically happened in this message is that she hit him up and said that while she was on vacation, she got into trouble with her friends of some kind. And he was like, ha, 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 what kind of trouble? And she was like, oh, I would need a few more drinks to talk about that. So at this point, he's feeling some kind of way about what that means. Like he's saying that he's the first guy that she's kissed since she was married, and they've gone on 2 dates, so they're not exclusive yet. Like, it's been a very, very short courtship thus far. And so when she was out of town, since they're not in a coupledom, he's saying technically he can't be mad at her for doing whatever she wants to, partying, drinking, hooking up with other guys, whatever. But the point is, he doesn't know. And so this is making him very anxious because she was gone for 17 days and he wants to pick up where they left off. But, you know, at the same time, he recognizes that she still has the ability to go out there and do what she wants to do. And now he's confused as to what's going on. He's not sure of what her interest level is. And he's wondering what should happen on Wednesday, which I imagine is going to be tomorrow with this person, right? So here's the situation, right? You haven't been dating the person long enough to put any kind of ties on them. I don't necessarily like the fact that she said that when you asked her what kind of trouble she got into, she was very vague about like, oh, I need blah, blah, blah. So I feel some kind of way about that. But honestly, this is in the dating phase of things, this is how I take things, right? Is that I'm going to be getting in certain information from her that I'm going to either like or dislike, and I can act accordingly. Early on, neither of us are tied to anybody. So if I were dating somebody and they just happen to tell me, hey, just if I say I asked them, for example, hey, so like, what were you doing this past weekend? And she was like, oh, well, you know, just hanging out. And I'm trying to go for a deeper answer. So I'm like, well, going out with who? Like, what? Going out doing what? What was happening? And then she tells me, well, I went on a date with somebody else. It's the first 3 months of dating. That is now my fault for digging deeper. She tried to initially not say, hey, I saw somebody else, but in the first 3 months of dating, she can totally do that. Like, she is in her right to see other people. I don't have to like it. She can hook up with other people. It doesn't have to be that something that I'm doing. If she does to do that, that is on her. If I decide to ask about it and I'm trying to dig further and make her tell me, and then she tells me and I don't like it, that's on me. Because right now, like, for example, I consciously know if I'm dating somebody in the first 3 months, she's probably dating somebody else. She's probably talking to other people. She's probably getting to know other people because she doesn't know she wants me or some other dudes within that first 3 months. She needs time to spend with us to decide who fits her best. And so sometimes when you're dating somebody, part of the finding out process is hooking up with somebody else. So if she decides to do that, I can be mad about it, or I can say, you know what, that's probably going to happen. And as long as I don't have to actually hear about it, then I'm good. So that's how I tend to operate. If you're a guy that's like, but I just know every single guy when she's seeing me, and if she's getting stuff stuck inside her while that's happening, you can choose to do that. You are in your right to ask those questions. You're probably going to be disappointed. And the amazing part is, I'm not a hypocrite. So if a guy came to me and said, hey, this girl that I started dating is upset because she found out I'm hooking up with, I'm dating 2 or 3 other people, my response would be, she's crazy because you're not tied down yet. You can do what the heck you want to do. And so because I say to guys, you should not be worried and that you should be able to date however many people you want during the dating process, that you can't be mad at her then for wanting to take that same option. It'd be different if you guys had titles where it's like, oh, we're now boyfriend and girlfriend, but hey, you went out of town for 17 days. Did you hook up with anybody else? You'd be in your full right to ask that as the boyfriend, as the person that is just dating her, controversial as it may be. It is not your business. And she was already trying to steer you clear of that. So for all you know, this ranges from, she could have, the trouble she got into could range from like, she went to a bar and somebody poured drinks on her belly and somebody sucked the alcohol out of her, to like, she got banged by 4 or 5 dudes. Either way, you don't have to like it. She's on vacation. Now, she shouldn't be doing that on vacation. And ideally, she's trying to get to know you specifically. But guy, you got to get out of your ego. You may not be the only person that she's seeing, or on vacation, she might have gotten into some trouble that might involve some physical play with some other dudes. Again, you can feel bad about it. And if that's not how you want to think about her in that capacity, and she tells you that that's what happened, you are in your full right to not be in that situation. What I'm saying is, during the first 2 months of dating, because I assume that stuff's already kind of going on, I don't ask those kind of questions, because I'm not going to let what she's doing outside of me, like, fear me into thinking like, oh my God, I'm less than, or what's going on. Like, I found most girls that I dated, they usually are not dating other people. If they've dated 1 or 2 other people in the process of that, that was their business. And ultimately, if they end up getting with me, then yay, I won. But it's because I was patient and I wasn't harping on her about like, what are you doing? Or I'm so apprehensive or anxious or nervous about what you're doing with other people. And you don't have to like that. Like, you can be a guy that's like, I'm a one person type of guy. And so I want the girl that I'm dating to be one guy type of woman. And if we're both dating each other, then we're already going to call it exclusive. And we're only seeing each other for the time being. And that is admirable. But that is not a realistic way of thinking about the dating process. In the dating process, she's probably seeing other people. She's probably having other experiences. And if you can't deal with it, then so be it. But in terms of what you're happening on Wednesday, I would personally not try to dig deeper into that. Like if it was me in the situation, she's like, oh, I got into some trouble. I'd be like, okay, she's letting me know in a nice way. She doesn't want to dive deep into it because I may look at her a certain way. And we're just dating right now. It's only been 2 dates. So it is not in the right of me right now to figure out what that is. Like I can ask those kind of questions later on, but right now we're just dating. If she went on vacation and did whatever, hey, if I had the options and I was dating 2 or 3 girls, I'd probably doing other things with those girls as well and not want to tell any of the other girls that I'm dating that that's happening. They might have an inkling or an idea that's happening, but I don't feel the need to spread that around unless they really, really dig deep into asking me those questions. So I would say, if you like this girl, then you could do this, go to the dinner on Wednesday and say, hey, so tell me all about your trip. Tell me everything that happened with you, with the fam, with the girls. Like, just tell me what happened. And then just keep it like that. And whatever she decides to tell you, great. If she doesn't go deep into the trouble she got into, I'd say don't push the issue, because right now, after 2 dates, it shouldn't be affecting you in a major way. Again, if you were the boyfriend, I'd be saying different. I'd be saying to you, no, really figure out what the heck went on. But unless she got completely drugged up or just got a bunch of STDs on the trip, I would say leave it alone. But that's how I would do things. So if you don't feel that way about doing it that way, then I would say ask her the questions you want to get and be prepared to lose that woman. Which, admittedly, if she did stuff on the vacation that you don't like, then it's probably better you find out now. I'm just saying I wouldn't be the kind of guy to ask those questions, So hopefully that gives you some kind of answer insight of what to do. Hopefully that was helpful in some capacity, All right. So we have a question in the chat. And by the way, guys, if you guys have any questions you want to ask me, the show is about you. You can ask them in the chat. I'll get to them during the course of the show. So this question comes from a person that says, Coach, how do you feel better about dating when feeling like you're starting below ground zero? Well, you know what? I don't know what ground zero means for you. It's been quite a few years because I'm 42 now, and my dating journey started at 15. I know from 15 to real talk, like 28, 29. Like even once I lost my virginity, I was still kind of like, but I'm not sure about myself, whatever. But like, I definitely had low times. I had times where I had no money, no job, no car, lived with my mom. And so what I found for me is that no matter how much I want to date or hook up with a woman, get my rocks off, I want to have somebody by my side to boost my ego, I never feel great about that if my life's not together. And so at the point in my life, I remember when I first moved to California, it got to the point where I'd run out of money and I had next to no job. And I was like scrambling month to month, trying to do different jobs to be able to get money. And so I was like, you know what? I need to stop dating for like the next year. Because I'm going to be trying to take women out when I have no money. And then I'm going to be struggling to try to take them out and pay rent. And that cannot be my lifestyle. So I need to buckle down and focus on getting a job or doing something that's going to bring money in. And then once I get more stable, when I can afford my rent, when I can finally get a car, when I can afford to eat food and go out to hang out with friends and be able to eat food without having to bum money off of them, then maybe I can start thinking about dating. And so I found, as I set goals for myself, as I started to work and get money, as I started to achieve some of my goals out here in La La Land, that I started to feel better about myself. Once I felt better about myself and once I got some money in, I had better self-esteem. At that point, I was now in a position to potentially be a better partner than I would have been if I didn't have that stuff in place. Because let's say I got no money and I've dated quite a few high-end women that like lawyers, doctors, teachers, etc. Right? So I'm dating them, and then I'm like, man, I got to the point where I realized that despite what the internet would have you think, women will date guys with no money. How do I know? For a lot of years, I was a guy with no money and still got some really hot, high-end chicks, right? But that doesn't mean that I didn't feel bad about the fact that I couldn't provide for them. Like, we go off to a fancy meal and they'd pay. I'm like, oh, she doesn't mind paying for me, but I feel bad. Like, oh my God, but I can't even afford to pay my half of this. Like, what the freak am I doing dating this chick? And I can't afford to do my side of things. She's not even asking me to pay for her lifestyle. I can't pay for my lifestyle, And so I would say if you're starting below zero, don't even focus on women. Focus on your goals, focus on your dreams, aspirations, getting some money together. And what I found is that when you focus on those things and they start to come to fruition, that you succeed, you'll end up in places where better women are for you to actually hit on. And even then, at that point, if you're doing good enough for yourself, or even just not even like millions of dollars good, just like passively good, like you can afford clothes, you can take yourself out to eat, you can like pay your rent on time. Just being able to do those things, you'll create the positive energy that women want to be around. And it'll be because you're not walking through life like, man, life's defeated me. Oh my God, I'm so such and such. I can't afford to get a woman and no woman's going to like me. Oh my God. Like, you walk differently and move about in the world differently when you have your stuff together, when you have a little bit of money, when you have a job that you go to on a regular basis, when you have money consistently coming in. Those things affect your mood, and then your mood, when it's good, will affect the way that women see you because you're carrying yourself differently. So focus on those things. I'd say you might need to take away 6 months to a year to not deal with women. But I guarantee you this, like, let's say, I don't know, OJR, we'll just say you're 30, right? If you're 30, you take off 6 months. Now you're 30 in 6 months. Well, in that 6 months time, you can get yourself together enough to where you'll feel better about yourself. And then at 30 and 6 months, you start dating again. Boom. Now you can actually get women. Boom. You feel better about yourself. So you're not thinking that, oh, she's just settling and blah, blah, blah. And you feel better about yourself overall, you know? And guys always say this thing like, well, I can't keep waiting. Yes, you can. Like, whether you start dating at 25, 30, 35, 40, here's the secret. As you get older as a guy, dating gets better for you if you know what you're doing, which is why you should go to the website to like sign up for coaching and programs. But the point is that as you get older, women see you, just if they don't even know you, they just look at you. Wow, he looks more established. Whoa, he's older, so he must know, he'll figure out his life and know what's going on. He must be a stable guy. You already look like a more attractive candidate. So the bummer for women is that they go up to you and then they realize, oh, you're at ground zero. So get yourself out of ground zero first, and then the women will follow. So hopefully that gives you some insight. That water's good. All right, we got a question in the chat. And the question goes, all my roommates are moving out, so I'm going to be moving back with my parents at age 26. My relationship is great, but I'm a little worried. How do I ensure it survives this period? Well, you know, guy, when I graduated from college, I was living with my uncle for a little bit because I was helping him with sales. And then he kicked me out because of a calamity of stuff that had nothing to do with me. But basically, he was selling stuff. I was helping him to sell, vacuums. And he wrote me a bad check. It bounced. I couldn't afford to pay my car payment anymore. So then when I went back to go live with them, he was like, you're not pulling your weight around here. And I'm like, I don't have a car because of you. And then he kicked me out. So I had to go back to live with my mom. And believe it or not, during that time, I managed to somehow date, like, not at the same time, mind you, but like 3 different women, you know? So I would say this, is that when you're going through a tumultuous time, the important thing is to not drag her into it, right? So that means, like, let's say you're going back home with your parents, okay? If you cause her to be the one to, like, now pay for all the dates, or you cause her to be the one to drive you around town because you can't afford your car anymore, then that's when women start to feel like they're being used and manipulated, you know? Versus, you know, when I was in California, when I first moved here, I didn't have a car. I would literally call dates and be like, hey, let's go such place. I'll meet you there. And I would catch the bus there and catch the bus back. And I would not ask them at any time to pick me up. Now, I thought what would normally happen is that after that first date, or even on the first date, they'd be offering to drive me back to my place and then offering to pick us up for dates. But I never put that out there because I wanted to show them that I could be self-sufficient. Like, just because my situation's not quite where I want it to be, doesn't mean that I need you to come in and be my mommy, you know? So as long as you're able to not make her feel like you're a mommy, as long as you're not going to her, crying about your problems, oh my God, I got to go back to my parents' house, my life sucks, why do my roommates do that? Don't do that. Like, don't complain. Women, I know guys that think it's fair, you can't complain to your woman. Suck it up. Go complain to your guy friends, complain to your parents about living with them, but don't complain to her about anything going on. If anything, you know what? You say, hey, you know what? It's a minor setback, but I'm gonna use this stepping stone or this time to, like, really assess my situation and figure out the next step. Always look like you're forward moving. If you go back to your parents' house, just say, like, you know what? Hey, I'm just going there to reassess some things since the roommates broke up. You know, I didn't know that was going to happen, but I'm going back to the parents to reassess some things. And hey, I'm not sticking to my laurels. I'm going to get back out there and do some things to get me out of this. That way, I have a plan in 6 months to get out of here. As long as women see that you have a plan of some kind, they're generally pretty good. What I found is that 6 months to a year, if you're still in the same rut, you're still complaining about things, you're still with your parents, then women will start to be like, I gave this dude 6 months to a year. He's still with his parents. What's going on? He doesn't seem to be having any forward movement. He's not trying to actively, like, really get money. He's not following a dream. He's not going after a job. So be mindful of those things. Just keep doing the things that masculinity wise you need to be doing in terms of like going out there and trying to build for your next step. And you should technically be fine. But again, don't complain to her. Don't ask her to overindulge you with monies or driving trip or anything like that now, because that's going to make her feel like she's wearing the pants, and we don't need that. You going to your parents' house is not necessarily the biggest problem, but you complaining about it and you trying to rely on her to do extra things now will be a problem, you know? So hopefully that helps you out. Sorry to hear that, guy. I've had that happen before too, where like I was living with a bunch of dudes in California, and then my best friend from college who I was living with was like, I need to be out. And I was like, okay. And I just had to find a place. And I was fortunate enough to find one, but there was also a point in time where I had to live on the couch for like 2 months out here because the person I was going to move in with was still getting rid of her ex-boyfriend, and they were still trying to figure all that out. So I had to live on the couch for 2 months. And during that 2 months, while I was on the couch, spoiler, I was dating a really hot lawyer chick. So again, it doesn't have to mean that you lose out, but you have to be mindful of how you're carrying yourself during this period. So hopefully that helps. All right, guys, let's get into another comment that I got this past week from somebody on my comment section. So, this guy. Okay, great. I love this. This guy wrote me like yesterday or this morning, and I told him I would extend this on the show today. So here's the question that a lot of guys have when they don't understand women and they're very uncertain about how women function, right? The question becomes, are women worth the effort? And so this guy wrote me where his first sentence was, women just aren't worth the effort. And so I have found that the only men that say this are men that just haven't figured out women. And I get it, because in my 20s, I was that guy. And I was trying to go out there and date and go out there and date and go out there and date. And I'd get dates. And then I'd lose that woman. And then I'd date another man, and I'd lose that woman. And if you're doing the same things over and over again and getting the same negative result, it is very easy to see why you'd say women aren't worth the effort, because you're doing the same thing every single time, expecting a different result. And when it doesn't happen, it goes from like, oh, dating could be fun, to I could potentially get sex, to like, I'm not having fun. I'm not getting any sex. And the more I put myself out there, I keep getting kicked down every single time. And you know what? It's just not worth it. So I get where that mindset comes from, because if you have a playbook in your head that is the wrong playbook, but you keep using it, is it any wonder why you'd say women are not worth the effort? Hey, women are, from a guy's perspective, women can be hard to understand. They can be hard to figure out why they say one thing and mean another thing. You're going great with a woman on one time, and the next time she doesn't want to talk to you anymore, or things are going great for like 2 weeks straight. She's texting you every day. You're texting her every day. And all of a sudden, all that effort you put into texting, she doesn't want to answer you anymore. She doesn't want to say yes to dates. Like, I get it. All that can be frustrating. And guys are like, women don't make sense. I can assure you, I've been studying women for a long time now. Women absolutely 100% can make sense if you put the work in, and it doesn't take that long. So I wrote back to this guy and said, there's always the option of staying single, turning gay, or letting your hand become your best friend. Otherwise, you got to figure women out. For all you guys that complain about women don't make sense and they just need to do X, Y, and Z, the reality is, just like we're born the way we're born, we're born with a certain set of chemicals. We're born liking the things that we like. We are born with a certain thought process that we have. And you know, to be fair, our environment's gonna inform some of that. I grew up around a lot of women, so I've kind of been able to grow up knowing a lot more womanese than maybe some other guys had that grew up around mostly dudes or didn't really pay attention to women or kind of brushed them off. So, but even with me growing up around women, they still think differently. The things that upset them would not ever upset us in a million years. The things that they think we should care about and get emotional about, we don't. So you got to understand, just like the way that we are born, we don't want women complaining about us and ragging on us. They don't want that from us either. They want us to understand them just like we want them to understand us. But the problem most guys have is after a couple of years of bad dates or whatever, it's like, oh, these women are crazy. And they're looking to like, but wait, rather than saying she's crazy, the fact that I've dated 6 women now that have all reacted to this way, this thing in the same way, or said this thing to me when I said this thing, or dumped me for doing this thing I didn't know what I was doing, it all seems pretty consistent. So if there's a consistency there, that means that on some level, however they're operating has to make sense. I just have to figure out the reasoning behind why it makes sense. And I have found that once I get an understanding of why it is that women are acting the way that they do, I become less frustrated. Like, I don't have to get it. I just have to understand it enough to know, okay, that's how they operate. I don't know why, if I wait 4 days between dates to text women, that I get better results and more dates back. I don't know. All I know is that when I was texting them every single day, after the second week, there's burnout. Versus if I don't do that, then they want to stay around longer. Is it frustrating that I can't just contact them every day once I know that I like them? It absolutely is. Do I care if that frustrates me, or do I care that I understand why it doesn't work and then do something different that does work? That's what I care about. And I think most guys, they get to a point where like they're so wanting the thing that they're doing to have to work versus I tell them, hey, do this thing and it'll work. Oh, but that's stupid. But that's game playing. But that's what they need you to be able to be attracted to. But I don't want to do that. Okay, you can be mad. You're going to continue to put forth effort and not be happy about it. I just chose not to do that. And I get better results. So then he said the main part. He says, I'm 40 and so sick of dating. Women are just complete flakes with no character or accountability. Well, we have to pause on that because women only flake. And women only flake when they're not interested in a guy, or if a guy that they were once interested in unknowingly started doing things that made her start to get the ick and want to back away. If you knew the things that caused the ick and make women back away and did not do those things, then the woman would have stuck around and you wouldn't be complaining that she flaked because she wouldn't have flaked. But this is what guys don't get is that women aren't going on dates thinking, man, I want to flake on this guy. They're thinking they want to legitimately see the guy. Guys aren't aware they're doing things that make women get the ick or cause them to be less attracted. And the next thing you know, the guy's like, oh, they're just all complete flakes. Are they though? Because I've only had one flake in the last like 15 years of dating. And even that one, we had a first date and then she flaked on the second one. But like most girls I've dated across the board have not flaked. But I also know what to do on dates. I know how to ask for dates. I know how to present myself on dates. I know the cycle and process of dating that's most effective for women to be attracted to me. So I don't get flakes as a result of that. If you don't know that, then that is something you can learn so it won't happen anymore. And then as for no character accountability, hey, there are also men that have no character and don't have accountability. This is the men's show. We're talking about women. So in terms of the women, there are some that have no character, but what most guys will say is because she flaked on me or because she wouldn't outright tell me that she didn't like me anymore, that she has no character. But if all women across the board typically act like that, then there's something to be said about why it is they do that action. I did a whole show this past week talking about the fact that women usually back away and ghost because the first few times that they start dating, when they just outright tell a guy, I'm not interested, they find men continue to pester them for dates. So therefore, they just learn, okay, I need to just back away and hope that he gets it because most guys aren't going to listen. We don't take into account the history that they've had dating. We just assume they came to us and just magically decided to have no character, no accountability, and they're crazy. That's not typically how this works. But anyway, he says, his story is, I met a girl who really knocked my socks off last month. I live in Boston. She lives in New York. So there was 2 weeks before our first and second dates, and we did our third date the next night after our second date. So again, so keep in mind, he's saying women aren't worth the effort, but you have to look at it as a guy, what efforts are you putting in? And are they the kind of efforts that are going to get you back the results that you want? So I've done this show enough times, guys. Let's ask the question. Is a guy doing a long distance dating situation, putting in effort that's going to get him back the results he wants? I have found more often than not, if you're doing long distance dating, it's going to be a lot of frustration. It's going to be a lot of canceled plans at the last minute. And ultimately, more often than not, it's not going to work out unless one of you guys move towards the other person. But that doesn't typically happen until you've known somebody for a while. So he's already setting himself up to later be frustrated at the effort he's currently putting forth. That's his fault. And then also him saying, so it was 2 weeks before their first and second dates. And then he went on a second date with her. And then the next night went on a third date. I've talked about on the show before how you should only be seeing a woman once, maybe twice a week at most in the beginning. And it shouldn't be day after day. It should be like, if you're going to do it, like take out on a Monday and then a Thursday, you going Monday and then Tuesday, that effort is going to more often than not result in her getting burned out by you so early on and wanting to not date you anymore. So he's saying women aren't worth the effort, but the effort he's putting in are not the kinds of efforts that are going to get him the results he actually wants. If you keep wasting your energy doing those kinds of things, is it any wonder you'd be frustrated? So then he says, after our third date, I stupidly told her I liked her and that I had a bit of anxiety that she'd forget about me until the next time I was back in New York City. So let's look at this effort here. He told her his feelings. And then not only that, he said, and by the way, I get anxious that I'm basically not good enough for you to remember. Are either of these versions of effort going to result in a positive result? Well, as I've said before, guys, it doesn't matter what your feelings are for her, because as guys, we're going to have lustful feelings for them and trick our brains into thinking they're lovey-dovey feelings and romantic relationship feelings for them after like 2 or 3 good dates, a couple of good conversations, and a hookup, right? So we're guys internally are on the three date plan. 3 dates in, I know I like her, we should be in something. Women are on a 3-month plan. So of the two of you, you are not the one that can come to her and tell her feelings, because your 3-date journey ends with you already having all the feels. But her journey is 3 months. So at 3 dates in, she's not going to understand how you already have all these feelings for her after only spending what amounts to like, realistically, like 6 to 9 hours with her. 6 to 9 hours with her, right? And that's what guys don't get. We're trying to be honest with our feelings, and we should be able to tell women whatever. You're telling them all this stuff based on a 3-date timeline to a person that needs 3 months. Is it any wonder that effort is not going to be wasted, because she doesn't care how you feel. She cares about getting to where she feels good enough about you to be able to express her feelings to you. That's why I tell you guys, you cannot dump your feelings on a woman. I don't care if you've been in for 2 months. Hey, it's been 2 months. I just want you to know I really like you and I care about you. I can see a future. If she's not there, it doesn't matter. The only way you know if she's there is if she comes to you. And when women get to that point, they cannot help but do all the things to come to you, to let you know that they care about you, that they want you, and that you guys should be in a relationship. But most guys don't get to that point because they haven't experienced that. So I can't even fault guys, because at one point, before I got into my first relationship, I was like, how does this happen? Like, okay, it's been like a month and a half. Things been going good. I don't think she's dating anybody else, but I'm anxious because I don't know what she wants. Like, does she want a relationship? Are we just playing around? Like, I gotta know. Versus now I'm a guy that's like, look, if this goes like 3 months, 5 months, as long as she's showing up, I'm good. Oh, she's still hooking up with me, but it's not called a relationship, but I'm getting the hookup. Okay, I'm good. She'll come to me eventually. And then I found having that attitude, they come to me. Usually I find they come to me within a span of like a month and a half to 2 months saying, hey, Harry, so are you seeing anybody else? Oh, I'm not seeing anybody else. Are you still in the dating apps? Like, how do you feel about, like, they're asking me all the questions. Why? Because they can't understand how I'm now seeing them all this time and not asking the question, but they like me so much that they want to have their fears like reassured that I like them, and they know I'm not giving up the game. They got to come to me, and then they come to me. So blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I'm not seeing anybody else right now. Oh, how do I feel about you? Oh, I mean, how do you feel about me? Oh, okay, well, like it's all questions, but I make sure I get it out of her first before I'm saying things. And so if you're not used to that, though, you haven't seen that part of the process. You have to learn the idea that if everything you're doing right now is not working, it means that you're not going far enough along in the process before you start trying to bring up questions of feelings in a relationship. And you shouldn't be bringing it up. You should let her bring it up. So you should the next girl you date, whatever you're doing, right? Practice these things. Practice not telling your feelings. Practice only seeing her once a week unless she suggests otherwise. And practice seeing how long you can go without calling this thing a relationship. Like, make it a game. Hey, you lasted a month and a half with the last girl. She dumped you. Great, fine. This next one, the goal is 3 months. See if you can get to 3 months without you calling this a relationship. I guarantee you will find after like 2 or 2.5 months, she will come to you. Hey, so what are we? And you're going to be like, oh, darn it, Harry was right. Okay, but he said, I can't be the one to call it a relationship first. Well, what do you want to call it? Well, we should call it a relationship. I didn't call it that. I win. It really is that simple. Anyway, he says, so he told her he liked her and he had a bit of anxiety, which also, guys, don't tell women your fears. Don't tell women that you're anxious around them or that you're nervous, because I did a video where I showed a bunch of women that were like putting up cameras really high up for like guys that are 6 feet. They're like, I'm a 5'2" girl. What do I look like to a guy who's 6 feet tall? And they put it up there, and the first thing they were all saying were like, oh my God, I'm like a child. Exactly. So you got to think, most women you're going to probably date are probably shorter than you. So you have this shorter being who's like 5'4", and she's, by her height, already looking up to you. And then what you're going to do is verbalize something that makes her look down on you. She don't want to do that. So stop telling women about your fears or anxiety or how you get nervous around them or how, oh my God, I'm an introvert and I can't figure out how to talk to women. Women don't want to hear that. It does not endear them to you. Movies have lied to you. The movies will be like, a guy will go up to a girl, just so you know, I'm really nervous because you're so pretty. And then she's like, oh, that's okay. I'll teach you how to love me. That's not how love or dating actually works. Okay. So please stop doing this. So he did all that stuff. What happened? Her interest level went from a 9 to a 1 overnight. Texts got more and more infrequent until last weekend when I went to New York City specifically. She canceled our date at the last minute with no explanation and stopped replying to text. Take it from me, guys. Never, ever tell a girl you like her ever. I'm really kicking myself. It's not often I meet someone who I really have a connection with. And you know what, guy? I told the guy, I said, hey, you know what? That's fine. Like, I get it. You know, you're 40 years old and you're just not figuring this out. But I said, but that's exactly why women are worth the effort. Because you see, I've been studying women since I started reading books on how to date back in my teen years when I was reading like Christian books on why to stay abstinent and the way girls want to date. Spoiler, most of those books will not get you women. It turns you into a pansy that women then don't want to date because they actually do want a guy that's a little on the edge or a guy that at the very least isn't afraid of sex, you know? But suffice to say, because I started studying this stuff early and then really get into the really deep dives of what actually works in my 20s, I knew if I did that stuff in my 20s, by my late 20s to early 30s, I would know how to date without being so nervous. And so because I put forth the right effort by studying women and not just trying to say they're all crazy, but actually, okay, I say they're crazy, but they all act the same. So there must be a logic to what's actually going on. And then studying that, the end result of that effort is in my 30s, I had a great ride, a great bunch of dates and hookups and all that other stuff, right? But that's because I put the right effort forward. So I said to this guy, hey, this is why you need to put effort forward. If you just start studying now, watch my videos, read other people's stuff, really study up on the ins and outs of how women think about things and how they work, then you won't make mistakes like going on multiple dates in the same week, or dating a girl that's long distance, or telling a woman that you like her, or telling her that you're nervous around her. Like, you wouldn't make those mistakes if you'd already studied up on these are not things that women actually find attractive. So really putting your brain and mind and effort into studying up on how women function, treat it like a class, treat it like a college course. 101, what women want, how to study them, womanese, all that stuff. I studied all these things in my early 20s to mid 20s, and it's helped me immensely throughout my dating life, even up to this day, you know? And so this is why I say, when you say things like women aren't worth the effort, the question then becomes, what are the efforts you're putting forth that are giving you the results you are getting right now that you don't like? And could there be other efforts that would be more better for you to do, basically, that would get you the results that you want? And if you're honest with yourself, the fact that, and this is how it got to me, right? I would be like, girls don't date me, girls don't like me, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd see a girl that I liked get with another guy that, if I'm comparing both of us, dude looks almost or near exactly like me, talks like me, has the same kind of humor like me. What was it about that dude that could get the girl I wanted and I couldn't do it? And that's when I look at like, oh crap, it could be some of the efforts I'm putting forth aren't actually working because that guy looks just like me and was able to get her, but somehow I was just off a bit and I couldn't figure out what it was. And once I was able to drop my ego and say, okay, I am a great guy as I am, but let's be honest, as I am right now, I'm not getting girls. So there's got to be other things I can add to my efforts, or I can remove from my efforts that are going to get me better results. Once I was able to put my ego down and start looking those things up, that's exactly what happened. So the same is true for you guys. If you're thinking women aren't worth the effort, look at the effort you're putting forth. Look at other guys around you that I can assure you, there are guys that look just like you or act like you or have the same likes and dislikes as you that are getting women. It's not about women being hard to get. It's about the fact that your effort isn't currently getting you the results, but there could be better efforts. If you need help with that, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the coaching tab, click on the products tab, or just watch any one of my 800 videos on this channel to start figuring the ins and outs of what you're doing wrong, what can be improved, and what you can add to your repertoire to get better results with your efforts, you know? So hopefully, guy, this helps you out, but thank you for having that conversation with me in the comment section of my videos, all right? All right. Let's see here. So we have a question. We have several questions in the chat. Here we go. Someone says, sorry, I missed the Saturday show. Yeah, so I'm going to start doing shows on Saturdays now because I wanted to have a day where like people are free, because I know weekdays can be kind of hard. So I have a show that I'm doing on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock that are going to be live for the most part. This week I'm going out of town with a friend of mine, so I'll probably post up a video that day instead. But like Saturdays at 9 o'clock a.m., I'll be doing live shows from now on as well. So be sure to check those out. All right. Questions in the chat. Let's see what we got. Let's see. We got a question in the chat here. The question goes, is it true that if men show too much emotion or get caught crying around women, the girls break their hearts? It seems like that's happened to a ton of guys. The short answer is this. I think as a guy, You should be able to show emotions in front of your woman. But if you survey a bunch of older guys that have talked about their experiences of showing emotions to a woman that they were dating or in a relationship with or married to, the majority of men will tell you that most women have not responded favorably to overarching emotional tantrums that guys throw, you know? Now, we could fault women for this, and trust me, it's very easy to fault women for this, but I fundamentally believe that on some level, I understand why that is. If you look on a biological level, when threats come to the family, and threats come to her in particular, the guy is supposed to be the one that jumps in front of the bullet, jumps in front of the car, is able to handle the situation, is supposed to have the analytical fortitude to be able to say, hey, babe, we're in this situation, but you know what? I've already got a plan. I can get us out of this, right? And so when guys cry about things or like, I just don't know what to do next, or oh my God, my life is so blah, blah, blah. Those are not movements that give a woman peace about whatever threat's coming to you guys being taken care of. And so on a biological level, that is why a lot of women do not react positively to when men get overly emotional. Now, with that said, if you're dating a woman that gets mad at you for crying because somebody died or you just lost your job or your house in a fire, that is not a woman you should be dating, and you should definitely get rid of her. But with that said, just based on the comments and messages that I get, I do recognize that there are a lot of men that, because they don't understand women and they don't understand what to do in dating, they get very overly emotional when they're not getting their way. I get plenty of messages of guys that, say, I tried to text her and she didn't respond back, so I texted her a bunch of messages, why is she playing games, blah, blah, blah. That's overly emotional, and that can make women feel not safe. It makes them feel threatened at times. And so this is why, even though I believe that as a guy, you have the right to show your emotions, I think it's also your job to become more indifferent to the things that bug you and become more indifferent to the situations that life is going to throw your way. Because life is not meant to be fair, and everybody's going to have a point in time where life just throws them a bunch of crap. There were sometime last year I was working a job, and then out of nowhere they were just like, hey, thanks for all your efforts. We're changing our budget. We don't need you anymore. I had two options. I could cry about it, or I could say, I got to figure out a situation to get more money in. I chose to go the latter route, and that's what happened. But if I'd been sitting there and crying about it, then I'm like, oh my God, like that doesn't give the person that you're with any kind of calm. It doesn't give them the idea that you actually already have 3 or 4 plans in place, which now makes them fearful, because if you don't have a plan in place and she's with you, what's going to now happen to her? So you have to be prepared that life's going to throw stuff your way. And when it does, you need to get into the habit of knowing, okay, if something happens, I got to handle it. This thing happens, crap. I have like a few days to come up with a plan, but I got to handle it. Versus you thinking you have the time to sit there and moan and whine and complain about it. Women can do that. You cannot. All right. And again, the balance scale of this stuff doesn't have to be fair. I think there are things that guys get away with in dating that women would say, that's not fair. How come you guys can date more women as you get older? How come you can date younger women as you get older? They don't think that's fair. It is what it is. That's the thing we get. But the balance to that is, but if we are going to do that, we have to know how to take care of it. We have to be prepared for things to happen. And so that means that, and here's the thing too, is that when women get emotional, they don't actually want to stay emotional. Like if something happens that's cataclysmic and they're in their head, oh my God, like this thing happened, or I just lost my job, or this and that. She wants her guide around to be the one to be like, hey babe, don't worry about it. Have you thought about doing this, this, and this? Oh, I've got girls come to me with situations. Oh my God, Harry, this is going, this is that. And I'm just like, okay, well, you tried this or this. Oh, let me try that. Oh, you fixed it. Oh, thanks. So women like having guys around because they know they're going to get emotionally irregular at some point, and they need a guy to go to look and say, am I tripping? And sometimes she wants you to say, yeah, you're tripping. This is easily fixable. Versus if you're in panic mode, if she's in panic mode and you're in panic mode and nobody's fixing anything, she's in more danger, because of the two of you, you have better physical strength than she does. So she's going to be even more harmed if both of you are freaking out. So this is why across the board, even though it's not fair that guys can't always express themselves, this is biologically why, and this is why as a guy, you need to get better at being able to handle situations, because in the long run, you'll actually feel better knowing that you can handle almost anything that comes your way. And then as a result of that, women will trust you that you're going to be the masculine guy that they have around that's able to take when problems come and say, I can handle it, babe. I got this. Don't worry. And that's what women want. You can hate it all day. It's not going to change how they function. So the two of you, you need to be better at not letting so many things bug you. And if you are finding yourself getting overly emotional, talk to your family or talk to your guy friends who will not overly judge you for that stuff. Try to steer clear as much as you possibly can of going to your woman and crying your eyes out. It does not look good. So hopefully you understand that now. Ah, man. All right, let's see. We got another question in the chat here. Question in the chat goes, I know texting is for setting dates. Does that apply when you're in a relationship and don't live together so that one doesn't overwhelm them? The short answer is yes. The longer version is, and I've said this before on the show, I keep my text at a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every 3 times that she reaches out, I'll reach out 1 time. And that's when I'm not asking for dates. But more often than not, I, even in relationships, will typically only ask women out or text women to ask them out. Or if I'm dating them or if I'm in a relationship, I'm going like, hey, I'm coming over to your place. Like, I'm still saving the majority of my conversation for when I see them. So when I do text them, it's because I probably want to see them. At the point that you're in a relationship, you're probably seeing them between 2 to 4 times a week. So you're already overindulging them with your physical presence. You're going over to their house, you're eating food over there, you're hooking up, you're probably staying overnight, you're leaving the next morning, maybe you get another good hookup in before you go. How much more time does she need to spend with you? And as much as the woman will care for you, women also appreciate you giving them a break, because subconsciously they actually need time, A, to miss you, and then B, they need time to be like, I haven't heard from so-and-so. I need to reach out to him. And if they're chasing you, they can't be replacing you. I.e., if they're reaching out to you, it subconsciously lets you know, I'm reaching out to him because I still care about him. If you are the one that's doing that more than her, it's going to start to feel like an off balance. And hey, I have tested this, okay? I have tested where I initiated text, 1 text to every 3 of her texts, and then I've just tested. Let me just see if I'll take like a day, right? I'm just like, let me just test this out, and I'll just be texting, initiating text all day, and as the day goes on, her responses get slower and slower and slower. Oh, because she doesn't actually need me to be the one to initiate. But most guys don't even get to that point, because after 2 dates, you're already texting her nonstop, and then it's like, oh, she went away. So in a relationship, the trick that happens to guys is like, okay, I'm in a relationship, right? So all the stuff Harry told me not to do in the dating phase, I can now do. I can now see her every day. I can have a date with her all the time. I can text and call her nonstop. No, you can't. Like, some of those things you need to keep doing. So you weren't texting her a whole lot to get her in a relationship. Fantastic. Now that you're in a relationship, you text her to set up dates or times to hang out. If she happens to initiate a text to you, great. She initiated first. Now you have a little respond back and forth. Hey, babe, can't wait. And then afterwards, hey, can't wait to see you, babe. I'll talk to you later. But you should not be trying to even if she initiates, you should not be trying to get into a marathon texting session. Like, that is ultimately a thing that's going to make her start to lose interest more so. All right. So be mindful. Just because you got into a relationship doesn't mean you can just open the floodgates for nonstop texting. I know you're thinking, but I'm in a relationship. She already chose me. And we want her to keep choosing you by not overwhelming her with a bunch of texts. At least that's what's worked for me. So hopefully this helps you out. Let's see. This guy said, I shed a tear in front of my woman, but I didn't cry like a little bitch. There's a difference. That's funny. Somebody asked, is it me or the signal froze? I'm assuming the rest of you guys can hear me or see me, so I don't think I've frozen. But anyway, let's see. Question is, somebody commented. Let's see. Ooh, it's last here. Okay, here we go. I have a question. I've been lingering for a long time. If you meet a lovely woman, professional, nice, but don't feel anything for her, from your experience, is it better to be someone in love, or does love come in time? Would love your insight. I'll be honest, guy. I think that if you meet somebody and you're not feeling the sparks, then you trying to force a thing is not fair to you, and it's not fair to that person. So, there's so many women on this planet to choose from. Realistically, you can find them at bars, clubs, networking events, dating apps. There's an abundance of women and an abundance of ways to meet women. If you come across one, I've dated, I remember a few years ago, I dated a woman, like, it was this Indian woman, and we got along great on dates. So we had a good time. I took her to a comedy show. I took her to a Christmas thing or whatever like that. We had a really good time together, right? But the spark just wasn't there. And so she admitted one day, like, hey, I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm not feeling it. You're a nice guy, but I'm just not feeling it. I'm like, hey, you know what? Me too. Like, sometimes it just be like that. And you don't feel bad about that. Like, sometimes you're going to date a girl and she's going to be absolutely great. And you'll be like, man, she's so great, but I'm just not feeling it. But guess what? Women go through that all the time. Like, now you're understanding what women go through, because women will date a guy and be like, man, like, he's so great. He's got all these great qualities, but I'm just not feeling a thing. And most guys can't get over themselves, you know? But in terms of your situation, if you're not feeling the person, they can be absolutely great. They might just not be for you. That's fine. You can find somebody else that will be for you. You can tell her, hey, you know what? I've had a couple of great dates with you and it's been wonderful, but I'm just not feeling that spark and I don't want to waste your time. Like keep it very, very simple. You ain't got to be a man of a lot of words. I had a great time with you, but I'm just not feeling that spark. Best of luck to you. Boom, you're out, you know? You ain't got to dump them and be all mean like, oh, you're such a B or whatever. Like, no, but don't stick around hoping it's going to turn into something. Like, here's this. If you gave it 2 or 3 good dates and you're still not feeling a thing, then cut it off. Because what's going to be worse is you stick with it, and then 6 months later, she's like, you realize you don't like her, and then you like, I haven't actually liked you this whole time. And I've seen like a bunch of Reddit posts where women are like, this dude, we've been married for 3 years. Turns out he never liked me in the first place. Why did he put her through that? He could have dumped her after the first or second date. So I'd say do that versus lingering on, you know? So hopefully that helps you out. But don't feel bad about getting rid of somebody just because you don't feel things for them, you know? Let's see. We have a question. Oh, so then somebody commented, if you're in love as a man, that's a recipe for disaster. You will inevitably put her on a pedestal and she will leave. It's better to have the woman in love with you, the man. Focus on her being in love. You can love her, but not be in love. Well, I gotta be honest, guy. I don't fully agree with that part of the sentiment. What I agree with the fact that of the two of you, the woman is better off having the higher interest level because we're going to be lustful. We're going to want to do a lot of things to them. We need to have a woman with us that wants us to do all those things to them. And that takes a higher level of like to do, you know? And so I think in terms of interest level, I think the woman's interest level should always be slightly higher than the guys. But that does not mean you cannot be in love. Men and women just show love in different ways. And what the problem with most guys now is they're trying to show love in the same ways that women do. They want to be wordy. They want to tell all these feelings. They want to be treated with flowers and candy and all this other stuff. It's bullcrap, right? The way you show your love as a guy is through action. You're showing up daily. If she's going through a situation, you're there for her to cry on. You're out there working the grind to get money for yourself, but also to be able to partially support her and take her out and show her a good time. Like, these are the ways, action-wise, that men show their love. Don't think just because you're not trying to be overly wordy or that I tell you guys, hey, don't blab all your feelings, that means you can't have feelings. There's a difference. Just because I don't want you to say, hey, babe, so I really love you and care for you, and this whole time we've been dating, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's a little much coming from us, right? So just because I'm telling you don't say all that stuff doesn't mean you can't ever have feelings or you can't show them. You just show them in a way that is more masculine leaning, that women across the board are going to be more apt to take in as, oh, he cares about me. As much as women say, I need a man to tell me, no, they don't. Most women I found that I've dated, they don't need me to tell them that I love them or care for them. But they do need me to, like, when they say I love you to me, be like, oh yeah, I love you too. Or like if they're cooking food and be like, you know, hey babe, this is really great. I appreciate you so much for you know, making this meal and for cleaning this place and for taking me out to this thing. Like, they need those kinds of things that indicate to them that you care for them and love them, right? But hearing it directly is not necessarily a thing. People can argue with me about that all day. And hey, maybe your experience differs from mine. I just know in my experience, I haven't had to be overly wordy to let women know that I care about them on a deep level, all right? But it's nothing wrong with loving a woman or being deeply in love with a woman. In fact, it's absolutely great. You know, my mom and my dad were married for 13 years before he died, and they showed nothing but care and love and kind respect for each other. My brother's been married for almost 15 years, it'll be this year. And again, love and respect, but with my brother, for example, he doesn't show love to his wife in the same way that, you know, guys today would think you'd have to. Like, he's not very wordy. He's very jokey with her, but he knows, you know, how to take care of the household. He knows how to cook for the family. He knows how to take care of the kids. He knows how to do these other things that lets her know, oh, he's into this with me because he cares, you know? So just be mindful of that it's okay to love and be in love, but we show it differently, and women want us to show it differently to them than they would show it to us. So hopefully hopefully it helps with any kind of confusion about that. So we got a question in the chat here. It says, okay. So the question in the chat goes, there's a girl who's actively chasing me, constantly sending me crap, but she just won't meet up in real life. Are there any tricks you would do to get her out if this were you? When I say chasing, she's always sending me stuff at least 2 to 3 times a day, sometimes more. I don't text first at all. I'd stop. Like, you asked her out, she's not doing it. Why waste any more effort? Like, sometimes women will text you because they want the attention. They like the fact that they have a guy on the hook and they want to keep hearing from that person. My thing is this: my texting efforts are to get a date. If what I'm doing is not resulting in a date, because that means that they're being difficult. Because when women like you, I'm telling you, I know you're young, You haven't experienced a whole lot in terms of dating. When women like you, I'm telling you, they make it super easy to get with them. Like, easy to the point where they'll come to you and say, hey, so I don't know if you're doing anything this weekend. I'm not doing anything this weekend. Or you're going to this dance this weekend. Oh, I want to go to the dance, but I don't have a date. Like, they will come to you and put themselves on a silver platter to say, please take me out. Please love me. Please text me. If that's not happening, it means that she's at very much low interest and at very much high maintenance. Either way, none of those are good things. So if you've asked her out already and she hasn't said yes or set up a time that can happen, it means that she's wasting your time. And you have a lot of other women you can talk to. So do that, because if you're asking me what I would do in terms of trying to convince her, I don't convince women anymore. I ask them out. Oh, well, I'm busy. Oh, okay. She's not interested. All right, cool. On to somebody else. Like, I don't have time. That's the thing. As you get older, you realize that time is finite, meaning you stop wasting time on things that are going to be wasteful. So if you asked her out and she didn't say yes, anything you're doing now is wasting time. How much time do you want to waste on somebody just because you're hopped up on them or they look hot, they got boobs and curves or whatever like that? Like, don't let that trick you into thinking, and they're not worth the energy to go towards, because then you'll end up like the previous guy saying, oh, women aren't worth it. Well, they're not worth the effort. Well, what effort are you putting forth? Are you constantly trying to continue to text women that have already said they don't want to go out with you? That is wasted effort. And it's going to make you resentful in the long run if you don't stop doing this now. So you're young enough now to not be doing that. So if you ask women out and they're like, oh, I don't know, or oh, I'm busy, and they don't give you a counter offer, don't date them. Like, that's the big thing. If you ask women out and they say, oh, I'm busy, and they don't say, but I can do it this other day, that's their slow way of rejecting you. They're trying to do it in a nice way as possible, but if they didn't come up with an alternative date where this date could work, they're trying to softly reject you. You got to learn, just know what that means when they say it and just move on to the next, because trying to then convince them, even if you get them on a date, trust me, I've had it before where I was able to convince somebody to go on a date with me just to appease me. Do you think that they were a fun person to be around during that date? They were not. They were mopey and pouting and just like, oh, but I got my date. It was not a fun date. So I just learned, okay, let's not go out with women that aren't showing high interest, because that's a waste of my time, and it's definitely wasting theirs because they clearly don't want to be here in the first place. So there you go. Let's see. Next question. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Question in the chat goes, how would you handle long distance relationships? I mean, long distance relationships, like I'm in Miami and she's in Dubai. Would that contradict your texting advice about just using it for just setting up your dates? When I first read the first line, how would you handle long distance relationships? My answer is I would not. And again, this is speaking from experience. Unless she is going to move to you to be in your same city at some point, and there's a timeline for that, you're wasting your time. Because a long distance, here's the thing, right? This is the reason I think people get into long distance relationships, is because it allows them to have a simulation of a relationship without the responsibility of having to actually do any work with the person one-on-one. Like in a long distance, she's not around for you to have fights with. She's not around for you where you have to plan dates and worry about if she wants to do the same plan or not. It's all just talking and texting. And so it makes it a very easy cop out. It makes it an easy cop out to not have to actually do anything. But it's a waste of time. All this really goes back to, I should have named this show like, are women worth the effort? And then just gone to a bunch of reasons on how men end up making their efforts so futile that they get frustrated by what they're doing. So if you ask a person, if you say women are not worth the effort, again, look at the effort you're putting forth. You're talking to somebody that's in a whole nother country that you cannot regularly see in person, that you cannot talk to in person, you cannot hook up with in person, that is not regularly traveling to you. So when this goes out in flames, you can't later say, oh, I knew women weren't worth the effort. You put in a bad effort, because long distance women, again, unless she's like, hey, I'm moving to where you live in about 6 months to a year, at which point I would say, you know what? There's a timeline there. You guys can see each other every other month or so. Great. And then she's coming to you. Fantastic. But that's not where you're at. You're at a person that doesn't seem to be saying that, as far as I know, based on your comments. So I would say this is now a waste of time. So whether you're texting her or not is a moot point. None of your texts can lead to dates. And more importantly, your efforts don't lead to her currently being here where you can tangibly see her. Therefore, I'd already be out because I wouldn't have entertained this in the first place. And again, I've been that guy. I was dating a girl that I reconnected with that I was living in California and she was living in Virginia. And after a month of talking, remember, she came to see me and she was like, so when are you moving back to Virginia? And I was like, when are you moving out here to LA? And that's when I knew this isn't going to work out because she likes where she's at. I like where I'm at. And so outside of me traveling and her traveling to me occasionally so-and-so to do whatever, like this isn't going to be a long-term thing. If I'm looking for a long-term, this is now a wasted effort. And it's my fault for entertaining that. So look at that and consider what I've said, you know? All right. Another question in the chat. He says, do you think I should tell that girl that I'm looking for more than just texting? And if we don't start seeing each other, I'm out? No. Like, again, women aren't difficult. Women that like you help you. Women that do not, don't. Here's the thing. Guys get into their head that they can somehow logically negotiate to a woman. Hey, you know what? Maybe she doesn't know that I want to take her out. So if I text her and say, hey, just so you know, as much as I enjoy this texting, I want to take you out. And if we're not going to do that, then we should part ways. That she's going to have this epiphany. Oh my God, I do want to keep texting him, you know, and I do want to talk to him. You know what? I should totally go out with him now. I'm so glad he pointed that out. Women really aren't dumb. Like they can play dumb very well. They are not dumb. She knows you want to go out with her. Like you've already had that conversation. So at this point, you trying to be the whole like, hey, we should like there's no point, is basically what I'm saying, you know? And again, I as a younger guy, you need practice this. You need practice. This is the thing, because as much coaching as I give to you guys, I think this is all based on experiences I had to go through. So some of this, I want you to just take it as I've said it, like, hey, I'm telling you to do this thing. This is what's going to happen. And so don't do it, right? But just like telling a person, hey, don't touch that stove, it's hot, like a baby, right? They don't know what hot is until they touch it, like, oh, ow. So I would say if it were me, I would not text her, but go ahead and try it. Go ahead and text her and say, hey, just so you know, if we're not going to see each other in person, then blah, blah, and see what happens. Because you might need the experience of going through, hey, I texted a girl and I told her I was serious with net, and then it either worked out or it didn't. And then that experience will help you either A, be like, Harry doesn't know what he's talking about, or be like, oh, this is just exactly what Harry talked about. But either way, I wouldn't do it personally, but you might need the experience of either feeling that rejection or saying that I'm wrong. I can be wrong. I'm infallible. Hey, I mean, I'm not infallible. Like I could totally be like wrong on what your situation is, you know? So test it out and see what happens. That's the joy of like being a younger guy dating. You have time to test stuff out and have it not work. But those experiences will also inform you about, you now have a physical reaction that lets you know going forward what you should do or not do, you know? So hopefully it helps you out a bit, okay? I'm gonna go fill up my water a little bit because I am thirsty. So in the meantime, I will leave you with this right now and I'll be right back. A brand new free ebook on texting and a discount on coaching. I wanna talk about it. So it's February, it's the month of love and Valentine's Day and all that stuff. And so for the month of February, I wanna help you guys out. And so here's what I've done. If you go to my website, introvertdatingsuccess.com, right now, my very popular book on texting called Texting Like a Boss, which gives you 21 texting commandments of what to do and not to do. That book normally retails on my site for $27. For this month, it is absolutely free. All you have to do is go to the website, fill in your name and email address, and it will be sent to you. You can start reading it tonight. Yes, this is the original 100-page book that'll give you all the insights of the do's and don'ts for texting. I'm doing this because a lot of you guys write me consistently about texting issues you're having, and I don't want that to be a thing that's going to hold you up. So for the month of February, you can get it for free. The other thing I'm doing for this month is that I'm cutting my coaching pricing in half. So if you go to the website, you go to the coaching tab, my normal fee for that has been cut in half for both the hour-long session as well as the half-hour session. So whether you're needing to fix your texting situation or whether you want some one-on-one personal time with yours truly, these things are now available as a discount and in case of the ebook, absolutely free for the month of February. So go ahead to the website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. You will see the texting book available on the front page of the website. And then for the coaching, click on the coaching tab. So hopefully, guys, this will help you out immensely. And I would love to be able to talk to you guys. If nothing else, get the ebook and read through it and start fixing your texting, because I keep getting messages about it, about what to do. How's it come she's not texting me back? What am I doing wrong with texting? You will now get to know that knowledge for free. So go to the website and check that out. Thanks for checking this out. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys later, all right? Peace. All right, we're back. So let's continue on with another example of a situation where a guy is very uncertain about what he should be doing. And so this guy's situation is about a girl that broke up with him and was married. So let's get into it. He says, my girlfriend broke up with me. We were far from each other, long distance, as she had her husband and kids living in the same house. She told me she didn't love him. Well, typically, if you're going to be dating somebody that is married, which I don't recommend you do, ideally she's already separated from the guy and has her own place at the very least, and is already, if nothing else, going through the process of divorce. Like she's already gone to the court, she's gotten the papers, she needs him to sign some stuff, but it's like you can see progress of, okay, she's definitely on her way out. If that's not happening, then you're being played for a fool. Anyway, he says, we had a relationship for 3 years, still in the same house as her husband. And she visited my country 3 times. That is not a lot of times. In the beginning, she told me she wanted to divorce him within 2 years, but she didn't follow through. About a month ago, her husband died of cancer. And now she doesn't want a relationship with me. She says she wants to respect her late husband. Oh, how ironic. I don't understand. In the beginning, when he was alive, she didn't seem to respect him, but now she wants to respect him. I don't know what makes sense. What were her intentions with me? Did she lie about loving me? Or did she just want something from me that she couldn't get from her husband? I'm confused about whether she loved me or not. Please help me make sense of this. I feel like she used to use me for her needs. You know, there was a time in my dating life where I really wanted to understand why it was that women were making certain moves against me. You know, like, oh, why did she go on a couple of dates with me and then she like went away? Why did she tell me she wanted me to kiss her? And then when I did, all of a sudden we're not talking to each other anymore. How is it that X, Y, and Z? And as a guy, I very much wanted to know the understandings, which is funny because it's what I do for you guys. I tell you guys, hey, study women, understand the ins and outs of how they function, why they think the way they think, et cetera, et cetera. But I also believe that there is a limit to doing that, because I find sometimes men get so obsessed with having to try to figure out why a woman did something or how she could do a thing against him, that becomes the obsession, instead of just being like, oh, I could just let this go. Like, it doesn't matter the reason she did a thing to me, why she treated me a certain way. I recognize the behavior now and I'm out. And I think it's because we have an innate need to want to know things, right? We want to know why she hurt us. We want to know why she stuck with her husband. We want to know why she did X, Y, and Z. Our brains very much want to know these things. And again, you should know some of these things, but you can't do it at the detriment of trying to stay in a situation, because what he's doing basically is trying to figure this out in hopes that he can figure out why she's doing the things so he can then combat those things and then get her to love him in the way that he wants to be loved by her. And the reality is, this was a trash woman, and whether or not we ever find out why she did all this stuff is not all that important, as much as recognizing she's a trash woman and no longer deserves your attention. That really is the situation, right? Now, I will go into answering his questions, but I wanted to put that out there first because some of you guys are like, you ask me questions. Why is a girl doing X, Y, and Z? Or why won't she text me back? Or she said no to a date. How can I do that? Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes there is no answer. Sometimes the answer just is that person doesn't want you. They're not for you. They're trash people. They don't have the level of, I can't think of the word. They don't have the kind of personality that's going to allow them to be the kind of person that you're going to want them to be, basically, you know? And so sometimes you just got to be like, I really want to know the answer, but I can't stick around and figure it out, because I recognize right now she's already toxic and trash. And so as much of an enigma as she'd be, and as much as it'd be fun to figure that out, this is going to be a waste. This is going to be a waste of my effort, you know? So anyway, but to start off with, she was married, so you were already out. She wasn't leaving her husband's house, so you were already out. So anything beyond that, you were a plaything to her. Like, you were a fun thing that allowed her to get away from her, the rustle and bustle of being a certain kind of wife and a certain kind of mother, and she could just go with you and just let the freak flag fly. For whatever reason, maybe her husband, she couldn't do certain things with him that you wanted to do with her, so she was able to go to you to get those things done, and then it's back to her husband. So, sorry, that sucks, but like, she wasn't really deeply in love with you. And so that's why she stayed with her husband. And that's why now that her husband's dead, She's still not with you because she probably on some level feels guilty that she was doing that behind his back. But more to the point, the whole, oh, my husband's here, we're going to get divorced, but oh, so hard. That was a ruse. That was a ruse that you fell for because she knows that guys fall for pretty women and want physical things from them and are willing to like not see red flags or believe her at her word or what she's saying, even when she's lying straight to our teeth, because we want out of this what we want. And that ties to our egos. We have to get past the point where we think women won't lie to us or that women won't harm us. Some women out there very well will do that to you. And I know women don't like to hear that because we like to think like, oh, women are so soft, delicate flowers. And if they're hurting us, it must not be intentional. Sometimes women hurt you intentionally. Sometimes women are doing things to purposely better themselves or to get what they want out of the situation, regardless of your feelings. This was one of those situations, unfortunately, So what were her intentions with me? She may have had no intention with me. We don't know. All we know is that she got her rocks off for you a couple of times, but wasn't serious about getting with you. So you're out. Did she lie about loving me? Probably. She was probably in it just for herself, or maybe she has a warped view of what love is. Doesn't matter. She's still not treating you the way you want, so you're out. Or did she just want something from me that she couldn't get from her husband? Maybe, but again, it doesn't really matter because the end result is that she is not trying to get with you. So we could ask 1,000 other questions. The only question I care about is her husband's dead. Does that make her now want to get with you in a relationship capacity? If the answer is no, then I don't care to answer any other 999 questions that are there because the end result is she doesn't want to be with you. And I know it sucks to hear that, but sometimes it is what it is. You should have chosen better. I get a lot of pushback on this channel sometimes because people say like, Harry, you're always telling the guys that they should be the ones to be responsible for this and that. What about the women? The women absolutely have a responsibility to be upright citizens and to treat you well, whatever. But some women choose not to do that. But the question is, what choices are you making? Because you can only control the choices you're making. If you chose to get with a woman that was already married and was staying married and not leaving her house, that speaks volumes about her character, but also about your character and what you're willing to accept as it pertains to getting into a relationship. Because there are billions of single women out there ready to date, and you chose the one that is long distance and also was already taken. Guy, you got to look at why did you choose that in the first place? How did you even meet this woman? Was it on a dating app? Was it through friends? Was it in a networking thing? Was it in an airport? Like, I don't know how you came across her, but at the point that she said, oh, by the way, I'm married, why didn't you bail? If you chose not to bail, then you are responsible for everything else that came after that. So again, you put in the wrong effort, which resulted in you being heartbroken now. So hopefully learn this, take this as a lesson for what not to do going forward as it pertains to your dating life and date better women. Real talk. Let's see. Question in the chat. All right. This is a good question. Here we go. So we got a question in the chat. Question goes, Coach, what do you think about a woman that ignores you about 6 years ago and comes back very curious about your life, very attentive, open to talking? How would you handle her? Can you trust a woman that came back after a long, long time? So I don't know if you guys dated before or not. I'm guessing from your words that you're saying right here that you did not date before, right? So here's the reality, guy, is that who you were 6 years ago and who you are now are different people. And so I don't know what your lifestyle was like 6 years ago, but women are always observant, especially if you can be found on social media, then women are looking at you as your life's going, right? So I don't know where you were 6 years ago. You could have been in a situation where you were at your parents' house, you didn't have any money, you didn't have a job, you were still in school. Like, I don't know that part, right? But ideally, wherever you were at 6 years ago, you're in a better position now. And so if that woman met you 6 years ago, you may have been in a place in your life where, if you're being honest with yourself, you weren't the kind of guy that was worth dating. Like, I've been there. I moved to California. I didn't have a job and no money and could barely support myself. I was not in a position to date. So if I met a girl back then and she didn't want to date me, and then 6 years later, I got some money, I got a camera, I'm filming stuff in LA, I'm on, and she comes back to my life, I wouldn't be like, but you didn't date me when I was at my lowest. I'd be like, yeah, I couldn't support myself. Why would I expect a woman to be around? So this goes to now, I wouldn't be holding a grudge against her personally for not wanting to date you back then, because you might not have been the guy back then that was worth dating. If you are now, and she can see that, then this is now something I say it'd be worth exploring. But the secret is this, is that you don't rush in. That's the problem most guys have, is at the point that they had a long-time crush or a former person that they wanted to get with come into their life, and the woman's coming into the life showing all the effort, now the guy thinks, oh, I'm getting her attention. I got to go rush in and show effort back. No, you don't. No, this is not what we do. My Introvert Dating Success Academy teaches a 3-month program that will show you the ins and outs of how to go from getting reacquainted with this chick to going through the 3-month dating process that it takes for almost every woman to want to get into a relationship with you. So you don't want to be like, I got to show her all the attention, but she's talking to you. Just go through. Ask her out. See if she wants to go on a date with you. If the worst case she'll say is like, oh, I'm busy, and won't give a counter offer. At best, she'll say, sure, let's do that. Great. Take her out. Show her a good time. And then you drop her off at home. You wait 4 days to call her for another date. Repeat. And then there's other things you can do that'll definitely up the ante to make her feel stronger feelings for you quicker that are expressed in the Introvert Dating Success Academy. You can check that out at the website. But suffice to say, ultimately, I wouldn't like worry about like, what's she coming for? Because guys always think, well, she's dating me now. What's the ulterior motive? She has no motive. She probably saw you doing a little bit better in life and is like, I want to go check up on him and see what's what. So at this point, it's now incoming, which means half of your job is already done. Just ask her out on a date, show her a good time. Don't get overly ambiguous. Don't get overly big with your feelings about her. I want to date you back in the day. And oh my God, I'm so glad this is happening. Like, no, just treat her like calm, cool, and collected, guy. Like, let her come to you. If she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. Clearly, she's coming to you, so she's already doing her part. So just when she comes to you, know how to respond in kind and get her on dates and take her out and eventually hook up with her and show her all the things, you know? So hopefully that helps her out. And yes, do not do this thing guys do of like bring up the past at all. Oh, back then, like you wouldn't date me and I was just so. No. You were in a different place. She was in a different place. We cannot fault her for viewing you back then and saying, maybe not now, but now things have changed. And so you don't need to berate her with that. She's coming to you. So she's coming to you. Why would you want to chase her off and being like, but then you didn't blah, 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 blah. Like you could feel any kind of way you want about how it was in the past with you and her. Ignore that. Like all we care about now is one thing. If you ask her on a date, will she say yes? If she says yes to a date, we can ignore all the stuff, all the times in the past you may have asked her out or the time in the past you wanted to ask her out, but you couldn't, or she didn't see you as such and such, whatever. Like women's things change too. Hey, while you've been having your experiences, she's been having dating experiences with other guys that probably didn't go well. And I'll tell you right now, as women get older, and men don't like to hear this, said like, oh, well, she should have gotten back then. Again, you weren't at a place where you probably were a dateable person. Totally fine. But she's been through enough dating experiences now to where she might want a different kind of guy. You know, that player guy back then, she might not want that guy anymore. Or the guys that were, you know, wishy-washy about wanting to take them out or couldn't plan dates. Like she might be like, this guy looks like he can plan a date. I don't have to ask him. He won't be trying to ask me where I want to go. Let's just give him a shot. If she's in the mode of, I'll just give him a shot, then you're good to go. But bring up the past stuff. It's going to make you look butthurt. It makes you look like you hold on to grudges. And those two things right there will not make women want to rethink about how they're thinking about you. You know, so just some insights for you on that. But hopefully this helps you out. All righty. Let's see where we're going next. Let's see. We have some other comments I got this week. Let's see here. Okay. So this is a good one here. Hold on a second here. So this guy reached out on Instagram, and his situation was, he said, this girl reached out to me back in November. We talked for a week, and then we got distant. He doesn't say how, but what I imagine happened, anytime I hear guys say that, what I hear in my head is, when I say we talked for a week, I meant that I was excessively testing her every single day because I thought I had to do that to keep her interest. And then the conversation just kind of died because she stopped responding. This happens so frequently, I should make it a rule, which is, if you find yourself thinking the words, we talked for a week nonstop, that is the problem. That is the problem that you're having. That's why she's ghosting. That's why she's no longer interested, because you were texting for a week nonstop. You did not give her a break, and she got tired of it, and you were out. And more importantly, chances are you probably didn't ask her on a date. But anyway, so then he says earlier this week, so from November to February, 3 months later, earlier this week, she reached out to me again. The convo seemed fine, and we were giving each other similar interest and feedback. The next day, I sent her a random question to try to get to know her out of nowhere, which I'm starting to believe is a mistake because she hasn't responded to me in 3 days. I haven't texted her again since. What do I do in this situation? Well, he didn't tell me what he actually asked her in terms of trying to get to know her. I forgot to ask him about that. But anyway, so he said, I've asked to meet up with her before in the past. She took a day to respond and said she would be busy. I forgot about it. Notice he didn't say that she counter offered. So, and this is an example of when I was doing my studying of women. When I was studying Doc Love stuff in particular, one of the things he said was, in order to get out of the land of confusion with women, you're trying to ask them out and keep saying, oh, I can't make this one, I can't make this one. How do you know if she wants to actually see you? It's very, very simple. If you ask her out and she can't make the date, but she wants to see you, she'll say, I can't make this day, but what about this day? They will do it unvolunteered. They will just come out and say it because they know they want to see you and they want you to know it. If you do not hear a woman say to you when you ask her on a date, oh, I can't make it, but how about this day? She's not trying to see you across the board. And so that's one of those things that I heard Doc Love say it, and I said, you know what? Let me try this out. Hey, you want to go out so-and-so? Oh, I can't make it. Oh, that sucks. Oh, but I can make this day. Oh, she wants to see me. We see each other. Versus, hey, you want to go out? Oh, I can't make it. I'm busy. And then she never set up a date. She never hit me back to say she wanted to go on a date. So I learned, so I should probably follow that. So see, as you test this stuff out that I'm telling you guys, you'll start to realize, Harry's making some sense. Just like when I was studying the guys I was studying, some stuff I would do, it would make sense, it would work. Other stuff I studied, okay, that doesn't quite work for me, but that doesn't make it bad advice, just doesn't work for me. So anyway, so she didn't counteroffer. So then he says, now that she reached out again, I think she might be a bit hesitant to meet up. Well, she wasn't trying to meet up the first time. So why would that change? He said, this girl is also an introvert like me. She doesn't really have too many friends, and she mainly keeps to herself. I know because we went to high school together, and actually we ended up attending the same university. So you didn't go to this girl's high school and her college, and you can't get her to hang out with you, even though she knows you. Big red flag. She does show some level of comfort over text. All girls do. For example, she talks about her family, and she brought up medical problems she has. I don't think girls would normally tell someone that if they didn't trust them, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. So then I asked, well, did you ask her out? When you ask her out, did she counteroffer? And he said, well, no, but she wasn't rude about it. So what he's doing right now, right? This is all a way for him to try to rationalize her behavior. Like he's saying, well, she didn't counteroffer, but she wasn't rude about not going out, so it's still cool, right? Or, well, I mean, we went to the same high school, but she's an introvert, so of course she wouldn't want to reach out and see me because she keeps to herself all the time. As a proud member and president of the Introvert Dating Success Academy, I can assure you I'm an introvert. I can assure you I love my alone time more so than anything else. I work from home because the few times I've had to work with people, it's very, very annoying. I get it. And yet, magically, if I see somebody that I really, really like, suddenly I can find the energy to go on a date. I can find the energy to go out of my apartment. I can find the energy to meet up with that person one-on-one for several hours on end and even get them back to my place for a hookup because that's all with somebody. It's fascinating how things change when you like somebody. And I'm a guy who traditionally guys aren't the ones that are more emotional. So now let's go to a woman. Do you think a woman that is all built up with emotion and feelings would be able to not see you in spite of her introvertness if she had high interest? As a person that's also dated introverts, I can assure you that is more than not the case. So this is an example of the guy's trying to rationalize. It's not that she doesn't like me or doesn't want to see me. It's because she's an introvert. I know so many introverts that miraculously get married and have spouses and have kids and have wives and stuff because in spite of their introvertness, they still need somebody. So you cannot let a woman's actions that are being negative blind you to what her interest is. If she's showing you signals that indicate she's not trying to see you, it means that there's low interest. You trying to give excuses to that does not change up her doing actions that indicate low interest. So if she's an introvert that is not able to get out of her house to see you, I got news for you. That is the excuse that you're making for yourself to bypass the fact that she's not doing actions that indicate she wants to actually meet up with you in person, which indicates she has low interest. Women that have low interest are not worth you trying to make excuses for, which is why if you recognize it early on versus waiting, then you will be less disappointed when it doesn't happen. Like, oh yeah, she didn't want to see me. Okay, well, she was already showing low interest. Like she didn't want to see me in November. Now it's February. She's not trying to see me. Clearly, there's a problem here. And it's not that she's wanted to be by herself. I can assure you during the holidays, she probably met up with friends and family. So in spite of her wanting to be alone, she still managed to be around people. So you got to start looking at are the things that I'm coming up with as excuses actually true, or can I see evidence to the contrary? You're going to find if she has any pictures up on social media with any friends whatsoever, I don't care if it's a dog, I don't care if it's her mom, whatever, that shows proof she's able to be around other human beings. And so if she liked you, she'd be able to be around you. But this goes to men make excuses. Also to the point, he says a thing about this. He says, she talks about her family and she brought up medical problems. I don't think girls would normally tell someone that if they didn't trust them, but I could be wrong. You're 100% wrong. And this is why guys get confused by this, right? Okay, so this is actually a great lesson for you guys to learn, okay? Women, when they go around you, or they're talking to you by way of text or whatever, right? And they start getting into some really deep personal stuff. Oh, I have this medical issue. I have lupus, or, oh, I got, SA'd when I was a younger kid, or, oh, my dad was never there for me. You're thinking, man, these are really deep and heavy subjects. Oh my God, she's opening up her heart to me. I can't imagine that she would tell us to anybody else. Therefore, she must really feel close to me. And the reason you think that is because you're a guy. And in the world of guy, we're not trying to be that open with people we just met because it can be a threat to our livelihood. The information can be used against us. We don't know who to share the information to or who not to. So we're very, very selective about who we're going to open up the deeper, darker parts of our heart and our experience in our lives to. Women are not like that. But because we're thinking like men, we think that if they come to us and tell some deep stuff, that it must be only us that are telling us this too. I remember years ago when I was living with my female cousin in California, like she would tell me stuff like, I'd be like, man, like you went to this family thing and this now, like, oh, I feel so bonded. We're so close. You can tell me this stuff. Kind of find out she done told 5 or 6 other aunties. Like women will tell their business to a stranger on the street if it means that she can talk to them about it, because that's how women connect. They connect through conversation, and they connect through like being able to share with each other. And so in women world, a woman will meet a new woman and open up the floodgates with all kinds of personal stuff, because that's going to make them feel bonded, right? So you as a guy cannot be fooled into thinking that just because she's sharing deep stuff with you, that you're the only one, or that it means that on her end, she's feeling more things for you than she would for anybody else. Because I can assure you, while you're thinking she's sharing deep stuff, it must be because she really cares for me. She has shared what she's telling you to 5 or 6 other people. So don't take that as a read that she has deeper feelings for you than anybody else. It is not. It is how women bond with their friends, with their family, and with people they're trying to get with. The thing that you need to look for is when you ask her on a date, is she showing up? That's how you're going to be able to tell that, oh, she might have a little bit of liking to me. But if she's not doing that, then you're not getting the right read. You're assuming the words she's saying and the things she's sharing with you means that she has high interest. Spoiler, it does not. All right? So hopefully, guy, this helps you out. But suffice to say, like, yeah, another guy going through a situation where he's not sure about if she likes him or not because X, Y, and Z. Here's the thing, guys, right? Because I want you all to come to me and ask these questions to me, but I've been through the experience of these things that you're asking me enough times to just know that if you're asking the question to me, your gut on some level is probably telling you what's actually going on. If you're coming to me and saying, hey, Harry, so I text this girl 3 times and she goes to me, do you think there's a problem there? The fact that you're asking, is there a problem there? It means on some level, your subconscious knows there's a problem here. Now, sometimes, hey, I get it. Sometimes you need to hear from another person that, yeah, go with your gut. This is wrong. But really start to be more trusting of your instincts, right? If you're asking a woman on a date and she's saying, oh, I can't make it, I'm busy, but I really want to see you. And then every time you ask her out, she's saying the same thing. You coming to me and saying, hey, so this girl keeps saying she wants to see me, but then we're not meeting up. Like, what's going on? Hear the words you just said. Your subconscious is probably saying on some level, she's probably not interested. And hey, I get it. Our egos don't like to think that girls don't want to see us because we're so great, we're so nice, we're so wonderful. Why wouldn't a girl want to see me? But you got to look beyond your ego and look at the situation. If the situation is giving you indicators that she's not trying to pull you closer to her, it means that she's probably trying to push you away. And it's better for you to recognize that early on than to try to fight with somebody for 6 months to a year, 3 years, 5 years, that it's ultimately not going to go anywhere when you knew on a gut level after like the 3rd or 4th conversation, she probably wasn't highly interested. Like, get that out of the way early so you can get on to the next one, is what I'm saying. So hopefully that helps that guy out. All right. We have a question in the chat. Question goes, what's your take on the attachment theories? Do you find them accurate? Honestly, I'll real talk. I need to do a deeper dive into it because I know I know the names of the various attachment styles, but I need to study a bit more in order to really like in order to do a really good show about that, right? So I will say this for now. I will say this, is that regardless of attachment style, if you are somebody that you find you are just attaching to women to the point where you're not able to let them go. Like, I mean, like if they don't text you for 3 hours, you're getting out of whack. If they're not able to see you every single night, you're starting to get upset. Or if they have if they've planned other things to do with other people and you're like, but we have stuff, blah, 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 blah. Then I would say, look at that, because it's turning towards obsession and neediness, which is going to turn women off. All right. But I will do a deeper show on that once I've done a deeper dive into attachment theories. Look, for me personally, I find that my attachment style, honestly, I would say this, is that because I'm not attached to outcomes, my attachment style is that I'm going to show up and do the best I can for a person. If they like me, great. If not, I'll find somebody else. Like, I'm not a person that gets attached to any one particular person in a sense of in a toxic way, like in a way where it's like, I have to absolutely have this person. And if I don't get this person, then I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Realistically, I'm like, we are free to come and go as we please. If somebody's dating me and they decide they don't want to, I'm like, that sucks. Okay. And I'll find somebody else. Like, I really try to be even keel about that. But I find by doing that the women that I date will want to attach to me because I'm not obsessing over having to be with them. Like, I'm choosing to be with them. And so in that choice, they will now do things to be assured that I continue to choose them. So I don't know what kind of attachment style you would call that, but I tend to be, of the two people that when I'm dating, I tend to be the one that tends to not get so attached to where I don't, because here's the thing, if you get too attached to any woman, right? You're gonna have your eyes open to any red flags that pop up or to any situations that kind of look a little funny and you need to investigate further, right? And we always want you as a guy to be mindful that you need to have your eyes open so that way if at any time something looks weird or fishy or something looks questionable, that you're not gonna be so attached to the person you're with that you can't get out of it, you know? And so this doesn't mean walk around like, okay, I gotta look out for her all the time and make sure that she's not doing, don't do that. Don't be that kind of guy, right? But just be mindful that just like men can have their faults and men can be shady and men can whatever, women can also have that ability. So the less attached you are to the outcome of having to be with any particular person, the more open your eyes will be to things that are going on. Ideally, you're with a partner that doesn't make you question anything. But if stuff starts happening, you need to have the mind frame of like, okay, stuff's happening. I need to look at this because I may need to get out of this. And that's totally fine because there are other women you can go get. That's what I'm saying. All right, I'm going to answer. I'll go through. I'm trying to see if there's any more of these that I said I would specifically get through. Okay, so I did want to talk about. I found this interesting thing on Reddit that I'm gonna close out with, and so this actually really gives you guys insight into what will happen when you actually start to figure out what you're doing with women, and it's a bit of a mind trick because I found, at the point where I got to really know the ins and outs of women, that a part of your brain's gonna start to be like, but wait, I know all women's games. I know what to do around them. Am I playing games now? Is this a trick? Should I feel bad about this? Like, this is way too easy, you know? And so there was a guy on Reddit that actually had lost his virginity. And so his story goes like this. He says, so finally, I lost my virginity. I was actually, and this is, I totally relate to this. He says, I was actually a little bit pissed off after the fact because it was so much darn easier than I thought it had been the whole time. He says, I was so caught up in looks, money, social media, height, that I completely glossed over social skills. I should have listened to a buddy of mine much sooner who, full transparency, gave me some coaching. This is why I tell you guys, coaching is invaluable to your dating journey. If you need help, go to the website, click on the coaching tab. He says, just a few techniques to talk to girls and a little bit of practice, and I was able to take a pretty hot girl home and bang her, who's actually coming back over tonight. Anyway, just wanted to stop in. And so it's mostly mindset and talking skills. And then he said you can DM it, right? So, but the part where he says, I was actually a little bit pissed off after the fact because it was just so much darn easier than I thought it had been the whole time. So I think part of the reason, honestly, that dating is so hard for men is because we feel that it takes hard work. Like, we feel that it needs to be a struggle and it needs to be us having to mine through like ins and outs of like trying to figure out what she's about and like all these moves. And then sometimes, to be honest with you, we get into the habit of making dating so hard that we feel like that's how dating has to be. It has to be hard. Anything that's worth getting is worth working hard for. And so I found in my dating life, right, that I was making things hard. I was trying to figure out, okay, I got to ask her out a certain way, and I got to make sure that like she doesn't know how much I like her, and and I just made it super, super, super hard, right? Man, I started studying up how to date, what to say to women, how to talk to them, how to be around them, when to pull back, when to go in, how to ask them out on dates, like all these things, right? And once I figured all that stuff out, and I put together a system, which is the Introvert Dating Success Academy, I put together a system that I could repeat over and over again that would get me into relationships. Part of me was just like, so I spent all this time struggling to get into relationships. And now it's just like that. Like I can meet a girl at a party, and within 5 minutes, I know all the things I need to do to talk to her, to get her interested, to get her number, and to get her on a date. Like I just know. Like I walk into parties now, I walk into situations, networking events, I can be someplace, minding my own business, and I see a girl looking at me a certain way, and I just automatically know, okay, I know the next 3 things I got to do to get her interested in talking to me. Like it gets to the point where you're just like, crap, is this too easy? Like, is it so easy that it's unfair? Like, am I playing games with these women by knowing this stuff in advance? Like, and that's the thing, because like, if you've been spending years not knowing what to do, you think that that's how the dating game is supposed to work. And you've convinced yourself that if there is no work involved, then I'm not doing my part, and that I'm being lazy. Or that if I already know the move she's going to make when I do a certain thing, the fact that I know what's going to happen when I say this thing or do this thing, that's now manipulation. That's now a tactic, and that's not going to be a genuine build towards liking her. And so when you start to get better with women, this is, at least in my experience, this is the thought process you'll go through. You're going to be a little bit annoyed that you're, and also I found too, is like, I got annoyed at women for a little bit. I got annoyed like, wait, so all I had to do is just say this thing and do this thing, and she just come home with me. Like, that is so, how dare they fall for this stuff? But it's not even about them falling for it. It's about when you get to know how women operate and function, you learn, for one, all the things you should not be doing that are turning women off, like interrupting them when they're talking, or not being able to go up to them and express how nervous you are to talk to them. Like there's so many things that you just won't do anymore that all you'll be left with is like all the right things to do. And I will tell you now, guy, do not feel bad about that, because when you get to that point, you have earned that. Like I'm 42 now. I got to learn all this stuff. By the time I was like 28, 29, I knew what I was doing. But that was like from ages 13 to 29 was just me studying up on women and learning the ins and outs of how to talk to them. So when I got to that point, yeah, I felt a little weird about like, I just know this stuff, and they're just I do a thing and I'm getting a hookup. I'm getting a makeout session. I'm getting them to take me out on a date. Like, what the freak? And it's like, you can't feel guilty for that, because as I said before on this show, women spend their lives studying up on relationships, how to communicate, how to talk to guys, how to bat their eyes a certain way and wear a certain cleavage dress. It's going to make you do the things that they want you to do. They already have the rule book and the playbook. They're already playing the game. So once you get to the point where you understand women, you're going to have that feeling of like, is this fair that I know this? Like, they don't know that I have their playbook. Is that a fair thing for them? It's fair. It's fine. Like, because ideally you have the playbook that's going to allow you to still be a great guy to women and allow you to get with them, because not only you know what you're doing with them, but you know you have every intent to be good to them and to show them why you're a viable partner. It's just you now also have a little bit of game. And I've heard it said that even when you get married, women that you're married to still want you to have a little bit of game. They want you to know how to talk that sweet talk and still flirt with them and still surprise them. Like, all that stuff is actually great stuff. So at the point that you learn all that stuff, don't feel bad. Like, you're going to probably feel bad a little bit, or feel like, oh, they don't know what I'm doing. And should I tell them that I'm doing these things to try to attract them? And my answer is no, because there is something to be said for women having the fantasy of thinking that you just happen to know how to do all this stuff, versus telling them directly, hey, so I'm going to wait 4 days between dates to talk to you. And also, I'm not going to tell you my feelings because this guy Harry told me that. Like, don't do all that, because part of the journey for them is thinking that this is just happenstance. But you as the guy in the background should always be a man with a plan and should always know going in how it is you're going to handle women. If you need help with that, I got videos galore on my YouTube channel. Also got a website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. Go there for my ebooks, audiobooks, programs, webinars, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. All right, guys? So That's all I got for now, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this show. If you liked what I've done here today, give a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, you can leave a cash app at $Harry Wilmington. But more importantly, further your education, guys. Go to the website, get the ebooks and audiobooks. All this stuff is designed to help you. You will be, trust me, I spent years learning this stuff. You can curtail your learning journey by years by just going to read some stuff and going to watch some stuff and joining programs. It really is that simple, you know? So thank you guys so much for watching this show. I'm Harry Wilmington. I will be leaving a video. I mean, I do a video a day at this point, but I will leave a video that's a live video on Saturday. But I'll be doing these lives every Tuesday at 5 p.m. and every Saturday at 9 a.m. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a